Hey there, welcome to another episode of Coffee Solo. We're recording this at 7:55 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in the Greater Vegas area on this Saturday, February 28, 2026. It's me again, Dan Hugo. All of these combined to make this episode 2026-02-2801 on this Saturday morning. I'm not going to say I just woke up. I just got out of bed. I actually woke up closer to 6, I think it was, 6:15, something like that. And I said to myself, I don't need to get out of bed right now. And I went back to sleep for just a little bit. And I woke up naturally, no alarm, 7:30. So that's probably the right time. And then I figured, hey, my voice is actually not so bad. The weather in Vegas has been a little nutty as far as the impact on my sinuses. So I really got to get back to the nasal fresh, which I used to talk about, and I used to have an affiliate link. Now I have an affiliate link to it on my buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo profile page. But that all said, today I did not write out an entire show. I just have an outline of a couple of topics, and I came upon there's an AI related thing. And then I thought of this yesterday. I was going to record the show yesterday, but I just didn't feel like it. I want to get off the Saturday thing. I'd like to do like midweek or whatever, just change it up a little bit. But anyway, this thought occurred to me, and that is the title of today's episode. So I had the notion on my outline, and I moved it to the top. So it's the first thing. I did not write the summary yet, so that will come later. The title: No More Photographers. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? Look around. There are plenty. So first we'll do the quick links, since I didn't write the summary yet. Don't forget that this show posts first at Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/DanHugo, DANHUGO/posts. It posts there first, hence the name, Coffee Solo, KOFI, solo. I used to just post it there. Yep, I would post it only on the Ko-fi.com website as a thing. I don't know. And I was like, you know what? No one's ever going to find this ever. Because this is my experiment for just doing more casual, ad hoc, no topic focus, no real constraints, no particular schedule. So I figured, you know what? I'll just make it a normal podcast. So I publish it then on Spotify for creators, which I'm not a huge fan of. And I do not have a domain for Coffee Solo, so you find it first at ko-fi.com/DanHugo/posts. Then you can go to the danhugo.com homepage, which is ugly. I will grant you that. And then, so that's the primary point of publication, but not yet. And I've been talking about this for way too long now because I just put it off. It's sort of a mixture of procrastination and having other priority items. And for a little while, I was like, oh, I got to work on some other website stuff, so I'll do it all at the same time. But I don't care about websites lately, so I've pushed it off. But still, the links are available on the Spotify for creators profile page. There's a YouTube channel where the audio is automatically published and then marked as private until I remark it as public again. Apple iTunes /podcast, whatever they call it now, Amazon, Spotify. So having the primary point of publication is still important to me, and it's on the to-do list. But you can find my audio programs. And where can you find all of these and more? If you go to the buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo profile page, you will find, after a drink of water, links to all of my audio programs and where to find them. So that it's that easy. And don't forget, there's the Buy Me an Update audio program. Similar deal. It gets published to Buy Me a Coffee/DanHugo/posts first on Monday mornings. And then about 2 hours later, it publishes to Spotify for creators, and then it fans out to the other places. There you go. And it's also available at danhugo.com, the Buy Me an Update audio program. Okay, we got the links out of the way. I don't know that I will ever add links for this episode or for an episode like articles or references. I might. What I really want to do is make the primary point of publication episode pages a resource for because you can only have so much stuff in the episode description. A long time ago, I created an episode and I just had so many links, and I couldn't publish it through Spotify. I think they have like a 4,000 character limit. Characters, which means if you're doing an HTML post with links and all this, then the HTML takes up your character count. So that's annoying. But such is life. I think episode descriptions in RSS feed should be Markdown, not HTML. That's been my position for years. So there you go. All right. So photographer, there's no more photographers. Is that what I said? The title? Yeah, no more photographers. So here's what it would occur. It didn't occur to me like, oh my God, nobody knows this. But as we know, it was, when did the iPhone launch? The iPhone launched, the first iPhone in 2007. Okay, so I was living in Sunnyvale, California. I remember it was released in the summer, June 29th of 2007. It was announced in January at Macworld, yeah. And I remember the first person I saw with an iPhone was sitting in front of this Thai restaurant on Murphy Avenue in Sunnyvale, California, downtown Sunnyvale. His name was Mark, and he was from Estonia, probably still is. And he said, Dan, do you want to see this? And it was his new iPhone with the pinch to zoom and all the other gee-whiz features. Now, the first iPhone, I don't remember if it had a camera built in, but I had a BlackBerry and it had a camera. It doesn't say the first iPhone had a camera. First generation. Let me find out. It's sort of important. Important. First iPhone with a camera. Oh, it did. Okay. So the first iPhone had a camera. Now, before that, I had a BlackBerry, and it had a camera. And my first Android phone had a camera. So it's not like the iPhone changed the world. Well, I mean, it kind of did. But the thing was, I remember this. That's it. Nobody needs photographers anymore. Everybody has a phone in their pocket. They have a phone in their pocket with a camera. And as cameras have improved every year there's no more, you don't need photographers anymore. You don't even need to buy an SLR. Now there's digital. Obviously, the world has gone mostly digital. It's hard to find film cameras. I think they're still out there. But so the point is, that's it. No more photographers. Like every year, there's no more. They don't even talk about it anymore. They just know there are no more photographers until you talk to the photographers and they're like, what? So I have a friend who I never hear from anymore. So Curtis Finger, if you look him up, Finger Photography. He does architecture and calendars calendars. He does automotive calendars. So he got to drive around in sports cars for a while, get some shots in the mountains and other natural settings and so on. Sports cars like, Italian, the names you all know. So he used to say, okay, for example, he would say, now I've done architectural photography. I think everybody has. My mother is a kitchen designer. So I would go take pictures of her designs when they were deployed, right? So they're all done being built. And so she would put the photos on her website in her portfolio. So I'd go there and I'd take like 50 pictures. So I'd have I'd have natural lighting, I'd have flashes, I'd have HDR, high dynamic range. So just all kinds of stuff. Cause you're like, hey, digital pictures, they're free, right? The first one is the most expensive, and after that, they're free. Because I'm here, I've set up any lighting that I had, and so on. So I didn't get the kind of money Curtis is an actual professional photographer. So, and he does a myriad of photography styles and whatnot. So he told me one day, I went out and took this picture. I had to wait for the right time. I set it all up, and I took one picture, and it was $500, which is cheap. I think he knew the person or something. One picture, $500. I said, yeah, I never commanded that much money. But this is absolutely true. It's $500. Now there's this joke. It's not a joke. It's a truism. Yeah, well, I mean, you can say, how come it costs $500 to take a picture? I could take the picture. And the joke applied to photography is, Well, sure, the picture itself is free. The $500 is knowing where to take it from and when to wait for the lighting to be just right. Right. So you're paying for the experience. You're paying for the knowledge. You're paying for the ability to compose a lovely picture. And I don't know that he was taking film. I doubt it because I can't remember if he's a Nikon or a Canon person. I remember he had a roommate who was the other one. So they had both of the latest cameras all the time. And that was kind of fun. But the point is, having a cell phone in your pocket, there's the old adage, the best phone is the one you have on you, so you can use it to take a picture. So that has changed things, right? I used to post my food truck pictures, my foodie pics, and I had a certain style. Other people had a certain style. My style was to get really close in, like table view, maybe a slightly elevated angle, so you could see the sesame seeds or you could see the rice grains, whatever. But and it was always no eating it first. So I basically exactly as it was handed to me. No touching it up, no moving things around, no utensil. Right. This is exactly what was handed me, and I would take the picture, and I would post it on Instagram or in the old days, Twitter. And people like that, because some people take the like top down kind of sterile looking, like a mugshot, a food mugshot. And other people take them like I'm eating it and here's a picture of me eating the food, whatever. So my style was always exactly as it was handed to me. So anyway, yeah, but photographers are all gone now because everybody has cameras. So you don't need people that are actually good at it and know how it works, especially now with computed photography. So when you take a picture, your phone is like, oh, okay, here's the original, but let's actually make it look nice. Let's do some automatic adjustments. And yeah, great. So I'm getting the same feeling with artificial intelligence, and I'm going to touch on this more later. But yeah, my field, computer programming, well, okay, first of all, coders are being, put the air quotes up, are being replaced. And again, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, coders are being replaced because people are like, oh, I don't even have to know how to code. And I can just have Claude build me an app. And look at that, it built me an app. And the devil's in the details. But computer engineers, architects, program manager, I mean, there are people that actually know how systems work.
Searching for engineers.
Oh my God.
I found some interesting shows like Silicon
Computer,
Valley.
computer. Shut up. Stop talking. It's going to talk again. I got to mute. Okay. My bad. Alexa Plus is garbage.
Please unlock the device to...
And that's a different thing. Okay. So enough of that. So the roles where you're supposed to understand how systems work is different than the roles that are typing at a computer. Because Claude or Codex or Copilot or all this other stuff, it will take what it's learned. I did read Empire of AI by Karen Howe, I think it's Howe, which is kind of the backstory for OpenAI. And at some point, all of GitHub was made available to train OpenAI. And so it knows how everybody else has coded over decades, but it doesn't really understand, or as I always say, it doesn't care. So a human will care that something works, and it will have the human factor, and user stories are kind of a part of that. Now they call it spec-driven development, which is funny because a programmer should tell you, haven't we always been doing that? But yeah, so I'm thinking that people are starting to replace the unfortunately junior level people. That's going to be a problem. But I think the notion of like, oh, I don't have to know how to code, because a lot of people are building, oh, I built this app. I don't know how to code. I just told, whatever, OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Anthropic's Claude, or I don't know. I've never really tried. I tried I tried one vibe coding experience so far. I said, hey, Gemini, because I have a free trial of Pro. So I was like, okay, let me see what Google Gemini does. I said, hey, can you write me an automated script for Playwright, which is a website automation tool by Microsoft. Playwright is WRIGHT, so Playwright, not RIGHT, not WRITE, but Playwright. Let me make sure I'm actually getting that correct because that would be silly. Yeah, so playwright.dev if you're curious. So I said, hey, write me a script, write me a Python script, call Playwright, and have it connect to my YouTube account, my YouTube Studio account, and have it look for, I don't remember the exact wording of my vibe. I said, have it look for videos in the studio, in the video listings that are marked private, and switch them to public. And that's all. I said, let me just see what it does. So it generated this code. It was, asynchronous waits, everything. So wait for this, and then check for that, and click, and it would go through each video and make sure they were all set to public. Okay, pretty cool. Didn't work. Absolutely did not work. It looked good, but it didn't work. And that's what you're starting to hear, is that people, like programmers, are like, it writes a ton of code, but if you actually look at it, it's got some problems. You got to go through and kind of handhold it and iterate. And there was a lot of hay made of, I think it was Anthropic made a C compiler. And as the Primogen pointed out, like, yeah, these models have been programmed or been trained, if they're doing code, on the history of programming and the C compiler, GCC, LLVM, whatever else is out there. That's decades of human effort to tune and optimize and debug and implement new features as standards improve and evolve over time. So you have, oh, look, it built a C compiler. So two things. One, it really wasn't from scratch. It was built on the shoulders or the shoulders of giants of decades of work, but also it didn't actually work. So everybody's getting very excited until you zoom in and you see like, hey, look, AI built me a car. And if you've ever seen Gung Ho, Michael Keaton movie, like they had to build all those cars at the end to keep the factory in Detroit, wherever they were. And it's a Japanese factory. They were building Japanese cars in America. Sort of a prediction movie, prescient. So they had to build a certain number of cars, and as they get to the very end, they build cars, and they're like, don't worry about putting all the lug nuts on the wheels. Just put one. We'll finish them later. And so when the final cars that come off the line, they're just about to make the total target number to convince the bosses that they're worthy. And one car doesn't have a windshield. One car, though, the wheels fall off because he's like, I'm taking this car home, and he goes to drive and it just falls apart. So I think things will get quote unquote better over time, but I still don't think photographers are going away. And I don't think people who write programs, write software, who love doing it, because photographers like photography usually. So yeah, I just don't see it. Anyway, let's get on to some better topics. Like, I guess we're at war with Iran now. I saw this last night. It was late last night. So on the 27th, I guess in Iran, it would have been the 28th. The strike began, and we are now at war with Iran. And Iran started launching missiles at Israel, of course. We have our two, I think it's the Abraham Lincoln and Gerald Ford. Is it Gerald R. Ford? Carrier strike groups. The Ford is the one with the electric catapults that nobody likes. I think they're okay, but apparently a lot of people don't like them. And the plumbing problems that lead to it's somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 sailors are on board the carrier. And the plumbing doesn't work, so there are 45-minute lines to use the head. Apparently people are flushing contraband, like T-shirts. Okay, that's stupid. But so the plumbing in the carrier is just a mess. So from what I understand, the carrier was at port in Greece, maybe getting the plumbing issues addressed, and who knows if there'll be problems again. But I think maybe they were waiting for the plumbing to get sorted out and then let it fly. So yeah, I guess we're at war with Iran now. That's cool. I posted on Mastodon that I'm wondering if FIFA has a special edition, production by Street, wondering if FIFA has a special edition Peace Prize ready to go. Special edition. But this, after the State of the Union thing, this is the political part of the show. It's not very long, don't worry. State of the Union was ridiculous. I'm coming down on the side of people who, and this is not really partisan, just in general. Certainly, this particular executive has taken it and run with it. But the State of the Union has become performative. It's become, now he's taken it all the way to like a spectacle. But the State of the Union, as has been pointed out, can be written and submitted to Congress. You don't have to get up and talk to anyone. Doesn't have to be cameras. And the other thing that I think Scott Galloway, Prof G, he's the only one I've heard say this, but not a bad idea. He's like, if I was going to tell the Democrats, but really the opposing party, if there's going to be a spectacle under the rotunda, it's not under the rotunda. It's actually in what do you call it? What do you call it? It's not the gallery. That's where the seats are. It's in the Capitol, where all the people can gather, all the reps, senators and representatives. Has the majesty and now the tomfoolery of the presentation itself. And then the response is always a prepared statement, sitting in a boring room, one person talking to a camera. Some people say, oh, that was great. It was fabulous. Other people are like, that was disappointing. Sure. But you get 20 minutes or whatever it is or less. So Prof G says they should just have like a halftime show. It should be Jay-Z produced. It should be celebrities. It should be a performance. They should make their message as exciting and interesting and fun and entertaining and whatever as the State of the Union address. And I was like, there's something to that. Because if you're going to make one ridiculous, make the other ridiculous. And I think two parties is not enough. That's a different problem. But all this stuff is getting out of hand. Will we have free elections? Is the guy even sane anymore? Is he, the Truth Social is now the official announcement thing. All political norms are gone. This is a perfect example. Anyone who says, oh, tech debt is overused and it's not a real thing. Like, oh, we have 250 years of not exactly tech debt, but infrastructure, not really infrastructure, because that's like buildings and hard assets. If you say government debt, that's financial. But we have this norms. We've relied far too long on norms, not norms. And so as you kick that can down the road, and so technical debt is, oh yeah, we didn't implement that one feature, or we wrote the code as a demo, but then we turned it into a product. So we really got to go and clean it up. But you just never get around to that until a couple of years later when it's like, oh my God, this technical debt has built up over the years, and now we got to fix this, and it's going to take 10 times longer than we thought because we didn't nip it in the butt. So similarly, there's a lot of things that have become tradition, those norms, cultural norms, political norms, etc., that were not codified. And then you have these old laws that someone has been able to say, oh, let's go back to 1728 and we'll do, no, that's before the country was around. But let's go back to the 1800s for this law that nobody ever addressed. And so, and you can find some of these state laws that are like, oh, it's still illegal to ride a bicycle with flip-flops, right? Or some stupid thing like that, because people create laws in the heat of the moment sometimes. Like, oh, let's make Sufedrine illegal. Sudafed, right? One baseball player overdosed or something, and that's it. No more. You can only purchase a certain amount of Sufedrine. So if you have allergies like I do, and Sufedrine or Sudafed can help with that, you can only get so much, and that's fine, except that, where was I? I was traveling and I was going to get some, but domestically, and I'm like, oh, I need to get some, my allergies are really acting up here. And, oh, sorry, you already bought some, because they use your driver's license as a key, and they keep track of when you last purchased. And so you can only purchase so much per unit time. And I'm like, yeah, but that I didn't bring it with me. So I had somebody else use their, like, hey, can you just buy this for me? It's not an illicit substance. It's just, whatever. So this is the state we find ourselves in: complete denial, total chaos, and we're at war. Yeah. So that was pretty cool to wake up to, that it actually, because again, last night I saw the first inklings, the headlines on the usual commercial websites, the ones that Larry Ellison owns, all of them now. U.S. strikes multiple locations in Iran, including Tehran. Missiles are launched towards Israel, etc. So these are the headlines from late night in the U.S. And this morning, that's it. We're in. And this will be in and out, like duck mating, if you saw Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins. But, well, we'll see. We'll have to see what happens. No congressional approval for the declaration of war or any of the funding or anything. Too much. Executive signing statements for the beginning of the end, and the pay-as-you-go being abolished. That was the beginning of the end, really. So the other day, somebody, I think it was somebody posted an article or something that said Lincoln remains the number one president. Who's voting on this? People who have never read a history book. Now, Lincoln's fine. He had his problems. I think I've basically accepted or I've settled on, like, I didn't stay awake at nights arguing or being concerned about this. But essentially, Lincoln started the Civil War as we got to keep the Union together at all costs. And so he was willing to make compromises around slavery. The South was only leaving the Union because of states' rights for whatever. Like, no, when they declared their secession, each state included explicitly, like, oh, by the way, we're horrible. Anyway, so he entered the war not so righteous. And apparently at some point he realized that this was a righteous war about humans and not necessarily about the Union. So it's kind of both. So I think by the end he had kind of realized. And but anyway, my favorite president would be George Washington. That's so easy. But I'll tell you exactly why. First of all, unlike the idiot we have now, George Washington handed over power twice. One, he was the general of the Union Army and its tributaries. So General George Washington, when the Revolutionary War was done, he handed over the Union Army to the Congress in the form that it was in at the time. So he could have been a ruling general. He was in charge of a winning army in what was to become a new country. But he handed over power he stepped down or whatever. He handed over sword, whatever the deal was. But he basically said, okay, I'm done. Take it away, Congress. So they got the ball rolling. He was the first president. And there were no term limits. And after 2 terms, he stepped down. Was it peaceful transfer of power? So that's twice that one person who had every, I'm not going to say right, but because there was no determination of this, but one person who was in a position to say, you know what, I'm going to stick around. 2 times said, I'm good. I'm going to pass this on to the next person, or I'm going to step away and take it away. So that's one thing, or that's 2 things. He had some really good thoughts on political parties, as in they're a bad idea. That is correct. The 2-party system is bad. I think political parties, if you have multiple parliamentary systems, tend to have multiple parties and they form coalitions and stuff. I mean, that's really what's happening. The coalitions are just formed ahead of time. So, oh yeah, I'm really an independent, but I caucus with the Democrats. You've heard that. So there you go. The MAGA, oh yeah, we caucus with the Republicans, but we're really the Tea Party or whatever. So they just hide that from people who don't pay attention. So you got 2 parties. He thought that was a bad idea. And then finally, Lincoln had a lot of history that he was trying to hold together. 7 years ago and all that. Nobody had the job of president before. So I think George Washington had, for any mistakes and anything you want to pick on, and Adams as his vice president was not well, anyway, he had some other problems. Adams was the first one to propose that talking poorly of the president was an act of sedition. So George Washington could have done a lot of silly things because nobody had the job before. There was no precedent. So he was like, I don't know. We got a whole new country. Nothing is really stable. We just finished a war with a country that we're going to end up being the best of friends with most of the time. But who knew that was going to happen? So I think there were so many unknowns, so much potential for calamity. And he had the clarity to know by the end of his 8 years, I think it was 2 4-year terms, he had the realization and the understanding about the political parties and about where the future could go. But he also had he knew that the right thing was to pass on to the power, step down. I don't want to be a president forever. I don't want to be a president king. And again, Adams did have those proclivities. I read this book about the troublesome friendship of Adams and Jefferson. Very interesting. So Adams was really he really wanted to lean into a aristocracy in the Senate. So the upper house would be the aristocrats, the wealthy landed aristocracy would be the upper house of government, and so it would be a House of Lords, House of Commons arrangement, with the House being normal, unwashed masses, but that the president would be much more of a king. And well, we're going to see how that goes, I guess. We'll see what unfolds. Anyway, so the news of the Iran war stuff this morning was like, it's going to be ugly. Speaking of ugly, no, Candace Owens not ugly. She's I think she is a nice looking person. Excuse me. Yeah, that was a nice way to to transition. Candace Owens, I am a fan, but not the way you probably think when I say that. I think she always looks nice, so I didn't mind. I'm not saying, oh my God, she's an ugly or evil or demon as the current lingua franca of the internet when discussing her, if you are on one particular side of the stuff going on. But her conspiracy theories are insane. So that's why I'm a Candace Owens fan. She is a nut and entertaining. It's crazy that she has 5 million or so YouTube subscribers, plus other platforms. She has tons and tons of people watching her content, and she is using that stuff to the max. She has an agenda and she's pushing it. Now, I have a little bit of trouble coming out. First of all, I'm not joining in on either side, but there's, oh my God, she's nuts, and now she's attacking Erica and whatnot. So I have just a small amount of trouble, tiny. Like, okay, her and Charlie Kirk were actually friends. So she's not, there are people that have just come out of the woodwork and they're like, oh, this is murder and conspiracy theory and whatnot. So as she said right up front, because I think I saw the first episode when she came back, so I was like, oh, I wonder what's she going to say about this. So she was very human. It was a very human moment when she was first starting to talk about this. And then she started saying, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. Okay, so that stuff I totally appreciate. I have a platform. My friend was just murdered on live television. I want to talk about it. She's already a conspiracy theorist. The Macrons were probably like, good, you can stop talking about us for a while. Now, this many weeks later, so the assassination, and by the way, some people are like, that's not a word for normal people. That's Chris Rock has that thing about Biggie Smalls, and did he say about Biggie? He said he got assassinated. He's like, John F. Kennedy got assassinated, but Biggie got shot. But the word assassination is basically anyone who people know, especially if it's on television or the streaming media and whatnot. So much live coverage of it. So I have no problem with using assassination if people want to. But he was murdered in front of a lot of people with video captured from a lot of angles and so on. So it's a moment, certainly a moment. And so that was September 10th. And then she got back on the air a couple days later, a week later, whatever it was. And again, expressed a lot of, pretty understandable and probably human and very probably sincere and relatable viewpoints, emotional and reasonable and whatnot. And then her conspiracy mind started turning, cranking away. But this many weeks later, months later now, she has connected the Macrons, the the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the family history of his widow, Erica, or whatever her last name was prior, Egyptian airplanes, Israel, just crazy. So now it's like, kind of like being on a roller coaster ride, like I don't know where the next turn is. So I'm because I like conspiracy. I like a good conspiracy theory, because here's the thing with conspiracy theories. People can string together facts, and there's if you look up survivorship or survivor, you'll probably find it still, survivor bias. There's this story from World War II. It's true. It's the origin story of operations research, or some analytical tools and whatnot. But there's a picture of an airplane. There were probably other pictures, but the common image is a top view of it's a twin engine, probably a British plane. I think it's a British plane. It honestly looks kind of like a Mosquito. I don't know what the actual photo of it's a twin engine cockpit in the center. So and they have red bullet holes, red dots all over the wings and the fuselage and whatnot. And the question is, we've collected data from where the bullet holes were in all the planes that came back from any particular missions, and we want to know where we should up armor, where should we add extra plating and so on, because the armor is heavy. It will have an impact on weapons capacity, how much bomb payload can it carry, how much fuel, the range, right? So if we add weight for the sake of the aircraft, we have to account for that in our mission planning and so on. So someone in the back of the room, and I cannot remember, I'm not looking at it right now, but it's a famous story. You should know it. The name, it might have been the Ibrahim something. I'm not going to look. You can look. So somebody in the back of the room, as is always the case, said, whoever wrote the story, but literally somebody says, we should put the armor where there are no holes. And they're like, what do you mean? He said, we should put the armor where there are no holes, because those are the planes not coming back. And when you think about that, maybe even get some goosebumps, right? This is why it's called survivorship bias. The survivors of the missions were returning, and their planes were shot up on the wings, on the fuselage. The non-survivors who did not make it back were getting shot in the engines, the cockpit, right? Pilot gets killed. Engines die, plane can't fly, falls, crashes. So the planes that are not coming back, so you don't have that data, so you're not considering it. So if you have this data, but you don't have all of the data, and you mistakenly believe you have all the data, then you can make some wrong decisions. So I think conspiracy theories are often like that. They leave out certain parts, or they jump to conclusions like, oh, if this happened on the same day as that, they must be related. And you're like, wait a minute. It doesn't necessarily have to be true. There's some humorous websites. Well, I can't remember. If you look up false correlation, probably, they'll show like correlations of trends, like the number of people ordering Big Macs and the weather, whatever it is, right? Like these things that are falsely correlated. So coincidence. So I think conspiracy theories are often like that. They're interesting. I also find it fascinating that people spend their lives, the JFK conspiracy, population, they've come out with some interesting stuff. Candace Owens is a total full-on conspiracy theory consumer. The Chaos book, I read it. Very interesting. Some fascinating notions. Definitely some, but it's hard to read a huge revelatory tome like that, and then it's not a long book, but just like so much stuff, and to say like, that's it, this proves it, and the internet is rife with these, like, this one thing happened and that proves some other thing, that's really, you should have more data and an actual an actual methodology to applying this proof, not just like, oh, one person did it, that proves it. So conspiracy, and I think she's a flat earther. I know she doesn't believe the moon landing happened, the Macron stuff. There's more. People call her an anti-Semite. I think she's an anti-Zionist. I don't know if she's an anti-Semite. She might be. That's always a finer point. So the Charlie Kirk conspiracy brought a lot of YouTube recommendations along those lines when I first was like, oh, what happened here? I'm not a Charlie Kirk fan. Never was. Still am not really. Thinking about the process, not the story itself. I had never seen, so there were all kinds of gun people who tend to be right-leaning that are like, oh, 30-06, here's what happens when you shoot or whatever, and how it couldn't happen, and the bullet wouldn't bounce off a neck vertebrae and all. So, okay, everybody's getting very, and this happened with the JFK stuff too, right? You know, could he take the shot? Could he do the 2 seconds or whatever? Okay, so a lot of people started coming out of the woodwork. There's a guy named Zeb, Z-E-D, I'm sorry, Z-E-B, Zeb, and I don't remember the name of his channel. But now that I watched one of it, because he was talking about firearms and bringing on people who are firearm experts and hunters, and I think he was in the military. I don't really know a lot about him, but he gets recommended now. Thank you, YouTube. And because occasionally he says some ridiculous and outlandish things, I'm like, all right, I will let them recommend it, and I'll watch a video of his now and then. He does a lot of long live streams. And the other day, just to give you a flavor of this, the other day, this character Zeb, who is sitting at a desk, he's got a brown, like a sport coat on. I don't know if it's a sport coat, but maybe it's like a suede. I don't know what it is. Who cares? He looks like he prepares to be on camera, so good for him. And he does these very long live shows and whatnot. So, okay, interesting. And there's actual production value. So he's clearly putting time into this. And I was, I'm like, oh, what is he talking about, this thing? And to be quite honest, if he's doing a live stream and it's the first recommended video on YouTube, and I'm like, I'm waiting for something, or I'm doing something else. So I'm like, I'll just let him talk and we'll just have that, see what's going on. And I'm not even kidding. And I'm not going to link to it, and I'm not going to promote it. But he just casually, he's talking about whatever. He said this. He just goes, yeah, Hitler was pretty cool. And I was like, wait a minute, what? What? I don't even know if he's being sarcastic, because I don't know much about the guy. He does say some other dumb things sometimes, but he also has some other insights. So it's like, well, okay, every once in a while, something interesting will come out. I think I've probably watched maybe 5 episodes over the past couple months, or let them play. Again, I haven't poured over them, but when that comes out, I'm like, wait, what? And I always fall back on the, what's his name? I'm totally spacing on his name. Norm Macdonald. Thank you. I'm like, Rob, that's not his name. Norm Macdonald. Obviously, yeah, the Letterman finale episode. Everyone talks about that. That was solid. That was a strangely satisfying final bit for the Letterman show. But he goes, at some point, he had another bit some other time. He's like, I'm really starting to not like this Hitler character. I'm starting to hear a lot of things that I just don't like him, that kind of thing. So, that's pretty funny. But yeah, just the off the cuff. Yeah, he was pretty cool. Like, no, not really. He kind of lost too. That's the Arnold Schwarzenegger message. Schwarzenegger. Don't be a loser. But that's true. Ultimately that stuff doesn't win out. So interesting. But yeah, I just think, I don't want to go into this today. That's a heavy topic. But the outlandish ignorance is the starting point, of course. The Columbia student from Azerbaijan who was apprehended by ICE in her dorm room after they used false police credentials and a fake missing person poster and whatever. And then Mamdani goes to Trump. I think he called him. I don't think he actually, maybe he went there. Who knows? And then they released her. So in a news story where this was published, it was in the New York Post. So people are posting comments, illegal aliens should all be kicked out. And she's another one that, so very ignorant, at least. I don't understand how there is so much vitriol and worse towards people from other places. My air conditioner has come on. I need to turn it off. Hang on. All right, we're back. In case I mention this from time to time, especially in the summer, the air conditioner adds some extra noise to my recordings. I'm pretty sure it's inductive loop, so it's picking up the motor electrically, and then that feeds into my sound card and whatnot. So it's a subtle hum, but it's different than just ambient noise. So I usually apply a noise filter before I publish, because I normalize the audio and that amplifies the noise, and then I filter out the noise. And it, why don't you filter out the noise first? 6 in 1, right? Either I filter out the noise that's less obvious, or I normalize the audio level to minus 23 lufs, and then the noise is more apparent and I can be sure that it's been filtered out. So anyway, the thing that I find so troubling is I mean, you can apply any ism you want to it, but it is just flat, straight out, flat out ignorance to believe. Now, this is not a universal truth. There will always be examples that somebody will say, oh, but what about this one? This one situation proves it. Like, if you look over decades, maybe, 250 years worth of data, for the most part, there are two things that are true. One, globally, countries often do not like the idea of immigration. They find it like there are too many people coming in. This is our country. And at the same time, the value of immigration over time tends to prove out, tends to become like, oh, okay, that was actually not so bad. It was good having immigrants here. And it really, so there is a truism. If you're going to have a welfare state, that is a state that looks after its people by providing funding, safety nets, and whatnot. So welfare has a bad taste to it, but a welfare state is a country that looks after its residents, citizens, right? We want to make sure people are not homeless. We want to make sure they're taking care of health insurance. At that point, it's not really health insurance. It's like health. So welfare state, make sure people aren't going hungry. Maybe you have housing programs. So this is where it's socialist, it's communist. Like, well, there are a lot of things that are sort of socialist, and that's how you keep a country healthy. I've heard people say, it was for the 2020 election, literally heard this. So it proves it's true. I don't like Biden. He's too much of a socialist. And I said, aren't you on Social Security? Yeah. Well, it's right there in the name. So a country that looks after the people that are living there, there's a couple of benefits to that. One is that people get to live, which means you have a population, and a population is part of an economy. It's also part of a society. So these are mostly good things. So having a population, and plus, if you enable immigration, you can fend off demographic collapse for a while. So if your birth rate falls below 2.1, you start to have a population decline over time. One of those like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. You will know, say 25 years from today, the maximum number of 25-year-olds that were born today, because many of them will make it 25 years, some will not. But 25 years from today, there will not be like, oh, there are more 25-year-olds. And we're talking on the planet. So if more of those 25-year-olds can be in America, that's basically the entry into the economy, right? Maybe after some college or vocational. So by the time you're 25, you're supposed to be kind of doing your thing, right? Maybe you're out of college at 22, vocational training, or maybe you're entering a graduate school program or whatever. So like 25, somewhere in there, maybe 30. So those are the people that like are doing the machinery. They're turning the cranks. So if that number starts to fall, you don't end up with, inventing new 25-year-olds. Right? You have a maximum number from today and tomorrow, same thing, and so on. So I think this like complete and utter ignorance as to the value of having more people doing stuff closer to you is it was ridiculous. So maybe that's a topic for another time. So yeah, let's get on. That's a rabbit hole. I think if you travel or you interact with more people from more different places with more different ideas, you start to realize that, oh yeah, you guys don't eat cats and dogs, right? And in some cases they'll be like, well, sometimes, but that's a different thing. Anyway, let's talk about some good news. I did get my Built Rewards refund. I think I submitted, so I had to so I paid my rent to Built, unfortunately, on February 3rd. On February 6th, I saw that, hey, what happened here? I still have that money. So I logged into my Built account, and they had no record of a transaction in the user interface. Their chat system is AI-based, so it's absolute garbage. Remember, no more photographers. Everybody has a camera. So absolute garbage. So I think that was the weekend, right? The 6th was a Friday, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, because the 7th was a Saturday and the 28th is too. So I went like a day, and the chat would time out. Okay, get a robot immediately. And then I would say, I want to talk to a human. And then it would time out after 6 hours. How do I know it's 6 hours? Because the chat session, whether you have the window open or not, persists until someone joins. So even if you close quit your browser, do whatever you're doing. So 6 hours, it would say, sorry, and it would close the chat. So 6 hours. So I did a little internet searching, and other people were having this problem. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not just me. Emailed support. This is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. Like 2 days, 3 days later. So by now we're like at the 10th, I think. I could pull it up and see what the email was that I sent, but I think it was the 10th, 9th or 10th. And then I finally hear back from them. Can you send me a screenshot? So I've talked about all this. I did 2 episodes on how Built sucks. And so they said, oh, we'll just send you a refund. They didn't really ask for details. So I said, I want you to type out, you did not pay your rent late. It was our problem, which they did. So that was good. So I submitted that to the property for the record, right? And by the way, I went to the management office after this, and I said, were there a lot of people that had this problem? And they're like, no, I find that difficult to believe. But anyway, so send me an explicit, you attempted to pay as you indicated, and we failed, and not your fault. It was our fault. So they did that just for my own peace of mind. And they sent me an e-check, literally a picture of a check with a fake signature on it. Where do you want this sent, routing, ACH, blah, blah, blah. And that that was on the 16th when I actually got the check. And it took until the 23rd to hit my bank. So for all this, I did get the late fees refunded. I did have an awful experience. I did respond to an email survey. How are we doing? And I was like, you guys suck. Because they do. Incompetent support. They don't know how payment processing works. I've had that conversation. I have written the code to do payment processing, credit card transaction processing, whatever. So ACH, auth capture settle. I even went through a PCI audit. Okay. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Their support people don't. So after all this, and I've said to the property people here, can I just pay directly? And they're like, yeah, you can drop off a cashier's check at my credit union, which I can walk to. It's right across the street, literally, in a Smith's grocery store, the one branch of it. I can walk in there, ask for a check, and they will cut me a check right there while I'm standing there for free. So I'm like, yeah, it Built is a real problem. And they're like, yeah, and it is. So maybe that was a hint of acknowledgement. So then Built Rewards sends out this email. Hey, Built Neighborhoods, or whatever their stupid thing is. Now you can report problems like maintenance issues and whatnot. And I'm like, are you serious? You're gonna just hand over air. This was from Built. So at some point I'm going to go, hey, if I have a problem, do I now report it to Built? Because these people are morons. So that's just going to be a downhill slide. If you too are dealing with Built, and it's BILT if you're not, so you have some familiarity, it is an awful, incompetent pile of doo-doo. But you know what? At the same time, I do go to Smith's. It's right across the street. I don't like Smith's. They tend to have lower prices because Kroger is the largest grocery company probably ever. So they are competitive on price for some things. They also appear to go through my shopping list and remove items permanently based on my purchases. So that's always fun. But they do have the fuel points. So if you go to a Smith, I think they use Shell or something. I can't remember. I don't have a car. I don't have to worry about it. But they have fuel points, 1 point per dollar spent, and you get 10 cents for every 100 points. It's quite complicated mathematics here. You get 10 cents for every 100 fuel points with a maximum of 1,000 fuel points per gallon up to 35 gallons. So if you have 1,000 points, you will save $1 per gallon up to 35 gallons. So of course I just give my points to my parents or my sister because they have cars. So when I shop each month, that's a little, helping out the fam. So I get my fuel points mostly. And on Fridays, it's 4X Fridays. So you must clip a coupon, digital, and you will get 4 times the fuel points, 4 fuel points per dollar instead of just 1. And what I have found over the years, about 2 years now that this has been happening, if I don't see the 4X coupon, and I have to search for it, there's going to be a problem. Because normally this coupon will be visible on your phone or on their website. Like, here are the digital coupons available and when they're expiring and all that. And I will clip the 4X Friday coupon. But if I don't see it, it's already a problem. And it will be, so as was the case for Friday, yesterday, the 27th, coupon becomes unclipped. So I go and I get my big purchase. I'm very near 1,000 points. Today's the last day of the month. I make my purchase, $65. Crazy. I don't spend that much money there usually, but I'm like, all right, that'll put me at 1,000. We're good. I mostly purchase things there that are on sale. 2 for 1, buy 5, save $1 each, that kind of stuff. So I definitely don't go overboard. I've really become a fan of their clearance items. Like, here's a $10 thing, but now it's $3.50 because we got to get rid of it. I'm like, oh, I'll just make lunch out of that today. So that's fine. And what you end up with doing that, I get to try things. That's the take home. Like, oh, I've never tried that before. And today it's, because I'm not going to try something that's $10 or more. A cheese, a sauce, whatever it is. Like, it's really expensive. And I'm not really that, I can get one for $3 because I got to get rid of it because it's going to expire. And I'm going to say twice of years of doing this, maybe twice something was like, oh yeah, this was not a good idea. This is definitely expired. But for the most part, it's fine. Right? So anyway, I didn't get my 4X fuel points yesterday. So it is absolutely worthless. The voice of experience. It is absolutely worthless to try to contact Kroger support for anything. So just don't do it. So here's the secret I'm letting you in on today. You can call the automated, it's not really AI, it's a call tree. It's like a decision tree. A call rotary is different. A call tree, you call, if you would like to talk to someone, press 0 or whatever. But if you have a problem with fuel points, press 2. And then, so you do that. Okay. And then the computer voice, and this is just a state machine, right? So it's not going to ask you any questions. Is this a problem that would be solved by awarding you fuel points? Yes. How many fuel points do you need? So 65, I missed out on my 4X. So to be fair, right, doing the right thing here, because I did clip that damn coupon, and this is a bug that I don't even want to try anymore. I tried this when I first encountered it. Hey, I clipped the coupon and then it goes away. And then I can't clip it. I can't find the coupon and clip it if I'm at the store because the mobile app doesn't. And they're like, huh? So there have been a couple of issues like that where I'm like, it's not just not worth it. Just give me the, so like, oh, I need, what would that be? 180, 195 fuel points to make up the 3X that I did not get. I got the 1X, no 3X. Excuse me. So yeah, just do that. I will say I gave my fuel points to my sister last year sometime. Her and her husband were going somewhere. So her husband pumped the fuel and selected. I've never used the fuel pump selection, so I didn't know what the experience was. And he somehow managed to pick the current month points on the last day of the month where the previous month's points are expiring. They got to make this tricky. So I had 1,000 and whatever points expiring today, just as is the case today. And then there were points accumulating for the following month that would expire at the end of the following month. And somehow the user interface at the fuel pump allows you to choose the ones that are still accumulating. So he used the point, and it was probably like 700 or whatever, 600, 500, whatever it was. Oh no, I think I actually had, I just had a lot of points. So he used those mistakenly. And I tried to, I'm calling support. I'm like, my 1,000 whatever points are going to expire today. They don't roll over. Don't ask me why I was getting so into this. And they're like, sorry, that's the way it is. You can pick either one. And I found it odd that this happened twice. And both times there was some other aspect, like it was a long weekend or I can't remember. There was just something. Oh, I know what it was. It was 30-day months. Now I have found the Kroger has had some problems with like they would be in the, like I'm in the Pacific Standard Time Zone right now, and we used to have 24-hour Smiths. That doesn't really matter so much. So the coupons that are going to expire today should expire at midnight when the store closes, or midnight because that's the end of the day. But instead they would expire at 9 p.m., which is East Coast time. So the coupons would expire while you're if you go there in the evening, your coupons would expire before you would get to the register. You're like, what? Wait a minute, I had a bunch of stuff here, including my 4X coupon. So they've had problems with time zones and other stuff, and they don't care. They don't understand. It's not even worth bringing up. So I called the robot. My 1,000 points are basically expiring. Can't do anything about it. Is this a problem that would be solved with fuel points? Yes. How many fuel points would you like? And I said, 1,000. And gave me 1,000 points. So I'm like, all right, well, I will no longer worry about this. So hopefully Built will be like that too. You guys are stupid. You are completely unhelpful and probably incompetent. But as long as I can get around it without a lot of pain, fine. And that's probably our AI future. So we're working on the Smarter Smart City Challenge. And I made the mistake of relying on LinkedIn to start getting the word out to teachers and the press and so on in Vegas. We want everyone to be able to participate. But how do you get the word out in Vegas? It is impossible. So I have a bunch of press people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. I tagged them all in a post on our Smart City Vegas page. I said, hey, we just need one press contact so we can help get the word out. 0 response. 0. Not like not a lot. 0. Wonderful. Hey, this is an NEH friendly event, but we're not going to reach out to minors. We're not going to try emailing 15-year-olds. So this will rely entirely on parents and guardians, educators and mentors. So we need you to help to get the word out. I tagged every teacher, connected to the superintendent of the Clark County School District, which is worthless. But there she is. I think she even liked it. She even interacted with the post a little bit, a little reaction. That's unheard of on LinkedIn, in my experience. But 0 interest, like no interaction, no indication that people are sharing information. And we're supposed to start tomorrow. We're supposed to open up early signups tomorrow for people who are interested. Well, I have no indication that anyone is interested or even cares about this, which is fine because it's less work for me. But this is part of a larger thing that I'll talk about probably in the future about our global innovation hub and the future of our innovation culture, cultivation, and our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem and whatnot. But I've come to the end of my rope with LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn value is approaching 0. You have to do so much work to get into their algorithm Like post once a day or post twice on Thursdays, and you have to do this, and here's the best format, and one picture or three pictures, like all the. Anyway, I would rather spend the time doing what I'm trying to accomplish, not trying to impress the LinkedIn algorithm, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We have 907 people following the Innovate for Vegas Foundation webpage on LinkedIn. Doesn't make a difference at all. There could be one person following it or 907. We get exactly the same amount of engagement and interaction and people contact, just zero. So that's what it's like doing anything interesting in Vegas. I've mentioned this before, pedestrian right-of-way, because I'm a pedestrian. And I've mentioned before, I almost get hit by cars now and then. But here is the thing, and this just happened 2 days ago, I think it was, Thursday. This happens all the time. But it doesn't happen like this all the time, but there is a scenario like this all the time. You come to a parking lot entrance or a cross street, like a T intersection especially. I don't know what the percentage is. Sometimes the person, a driver, will not wait. They will just go. So I have made it a habit to not assume anything, and I usually just let the cars go. Like, you do your thing. And as I've mentioned before, I can see all the way down the street because I'm on the sidewalk. I'm on the edge of the sidewalk, so I can see the cars coming. You may not be able to see, like you may be on the cross street, not turning into the cross street, or in the parking lot, and there's a tree or whatever. It's like I can see the cars coming. So if there's no cars coming, go. And they'll be looking at me. They'll be waving. Sometimes they'll honk. Sometimes they'll curse at me. But then if I see cars coming, then I'll go because I'm like, now you can't go. So I'll just walk, whatever. But generally speaking, people don't always use their turn signals and whatnot. So to me, it's always worthwhile. I'm in no rush. It's always worthwhile to let the traffic clear. You make your turn. I can see when the cars are coming. When you turn and I see no cars are coming, I can walk backwards, half speed, and nobody will care because I'm not yielding. I'm not being yielded to. I'm not waiting. I'm not in danger of being hit. There's nobody coming. I can see the whole way, both directions, all directions. Or you get people who just refuse to go. So, you either get people who are like, I'm going, or you get people who are like, I'm yielding to you, and they'll wave and honk and yell. And I mentioned the other day, I was in the island. I did the halfway walk because there were people, and there was a dude making a left turn. So I'm standing there. I'm standing off the island on the opposite travel asphalt lane, right? So I'm not actually standing on the island. He looks at me. He's like, "Are you going to go, or are you waiting for something? Do you want some money?" I'm like, "What?" "Well, I'm not sure what you're doing." And I'm like, "I'm waiting for you to go." Why does this have to be about you? Well, I guess it is about him going, but I just wanted to point it out. It's so here's the take home lesson. Vegas has a lot of super aggressive drivers. Like they will tailgate you on an on ramp onto the 95, for example. When I had a car, that used to happen all the time. They're like, go. So people here are very aggressive. The question is, did they get here and become aggressive, which I believe is true, or are they just aggressive? Because a lot of people come here, they're here temporarily, or there's a transient population that, every 5 years, that's big. If you're still here after 5 years, you're probably sticking around, as I have. But people tend to move here and then they move on. So there are people of different driving styles here. So I think in this version also, you'll get people that are new here or that they're just used to aggressive driving. So they want to take the right of way. Other people are like, oh, where I'm from, we wait for everybody to go first. And then so who knows? But you don't know what you're going to get. So at any given moment, it could be an aggressive driver that's going to go, or it could be a faux courtesy. No, go ahead. I'll wait. I'm just going to wait here. So in those cases, I usually take out my phone, or I look in the sky, or I look down the street in the other direction, and I avoid eye contact. And then I could almost hear them like, fine, or worse. So, yeah, that happens all the time. all the time. I mentioned I was going to get to this, the AI hype. I did a whole episode of AI hype, part 1 in FFS Talk. It's getting out of control on both sides. So if you're a fan of AI and you think it's going to take over the world, great. You should get a YouTube channel and make content about that every single day. And there are people that do that. And then if you're more realistic and you're like, I've been a programmer for years, and this vibe coding stuff, it starts off like, oh, that's kind of fun. And then you start to realize, oh, this makes a lot of work, because now it has created all kinds of stuff that, oh, it kind of works, except it also kind of doesn't. And then security issues, just a whole bunch of things that the voice of experience says, this is not done. And you'll get a lot of comments like, oh, yeah, you can build an application that seems to work, or it seems to, oh, look, I told it I wanted this, and that's what it built. And you're going to start seeing this more and more. Vibe coded stuff seems to work until you put it in production, and until you deploy it, you put it in an app store, you put it on the web so people can start using it. And then you start to realize, oh, everything I didn't say explicitly was left to chance, and who knows what's going on. And because a human being with human sensibilities and an actual desire to make something that works, hopefully, is not in the process so much anymore. And the thing that people are saying is, oh, there's going to be fewer coders, more engineers and architects. So you're going to spend your time telling it what to do and then checking the work. Okay, great. Who doesn't love code reviews? That's going to be the future, I guess. So who knows what it built? And then these people are like, I'm not even a coder, and I built a thing that does, it's my to-do list. Okay, great. You built a to-do list. Everybody does that. Isn't that one of those portfolio projects? So like, here's some example of my projects. So yesterday, Thursday or Friday, I think it was Thursday, but it might have been Friday, 27. Jack Dorsey announces a big 40% layoff at Block. I think that's the name of the company that owns Cash App. And what else does it own? What does Block own? The layoffs were at Cash App, which, by the way, I use. Cash App is like a debit card. You can send me money to it. I have the link on the buy me a coffee. Sorry, buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. You can send me money if you really want to my Cash App card. And I think it's like cash.com or cash.app probably. And then it's $Dan Hugo. So, okay, that's neat. But I also, because if I go to the grocery store, first of all, they used to, during the pandemic, they had grocery store discounts, like 10%, any grocery store. So you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then they do instant ACH transfers. So I can literally keep no balance on my Cash App debit card. This is not a plug. This is just a practicality. I'm at the grocery store. Oh, okay. So my bill is $65. I will transfer $65, and it's instant. Now the actual ACH transfer takes 1 day, but essentially they've said, okay, well, we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You have the balance available. We'll reconcile the books at the end of the business or in the next morning or whatever. Totally fine. Everything works. I could transfer money to but this is super easy. They used to have these coupons. Now they've made it more complicated and silly and stupid. But at the end of the day, I still don't have to have a debit card that has a balance attached to it to use when I'm out and about for things like this. Why is that valuable? Lose your credit card sometime or debit card. So those basically compartmentalized. I've talked about this before. I have a couple of different bank accounts and for paying different things, recurring things and automatic payments and whatnot. So if you have them compartmentalized and separated, then if a credit card or a debit card gets compromised in some way, you're like, that's fine. All the automated, like the stuff that gets paid automatically, is a card that never leaves, never sees the light of day. So that account, if it's ever compromised, that's a very different problem. So Cash App laying off 40%. Oh, I was going to see what else. What else does he own? Dorsey. Yeah. So his company is called Block. Oh, he owns Square. Okay. So but now it's called Block. So Square was the payment, POS, Square Payments, I think, which when I was doing more food truck stuff, Square was the thing. So And then people are like, oh, so they're laying off 40%, replacing people with AI. So I personally think this is going to go wrong eventually. It has already for other companies. Oh, we're laying off so many people. And then a couple of months later, they're like, okay, now we need to hire those people back quick. But you get a couple of upsides. First of all, instead of adjusting your total hires from pandemic era where people are just hiring like crazy, in some cases, oh, now we got to downsize. We got to readjust our headcount. But if we say we're changing to AI, then we get to look like we're trendy and cool. And I kind of buy that argument. Also, we can invest that money in our AI expenditures, like tokens and stuff. Maybe you're got to buy some NVIDIA hardware, whatever it is. So that's kind of interesting. But somebody posted on the news, they were like, oh, Cash App's Block stock is going up because people don't care. And it's like, no, he's saving money. The stock market is a reflection of profit. Mostly nowadays, all, oh, they're going to make more money. That's good for me. I'm going to buy the stock. So the stock goes up because they're going to spend less money on people and they'll make these AI investments allegedly. So there's no humanity in the stock market. It's just turning a crank, but literally. But yeah, when I look at my experiences with Smiths and Built and you name it, Amazon, if you're not talking to a human, every single thing that you interact with a person that becomes a robot, you're like, what is going on here? Put a human on. This is absolute. And the Built thing it was just telling me the wrong things. So that was a waste of time. Smiths, give me my fuel points. Okay. Oh, well, that works for my favor. So who knows what Cash App is going to do. And I don't know. I didn't delve into where they're spending the robotics dollars. So is it going to be customer service? Is it going to be in payment processing? I know there is some rumors about banking is going to require more analysis of people transferring money and whatnot. So that's going to be fun. The specter of AI is taking over the IRS and banking and all that. So they're going to be watching all of us and where our money goes, I guess. So it might be that. It might be in some other algorithmic stuff, probably fraud prevention, entity resolution. There's all kinds of stuff in the finance world that there are practicalities, but I guess you can move those jobs from humans to automated systems, which is probably what they're doing. But 40%, and apparently they had 10,000 employees. That's crazy. Can you hear that ambulance? Rolling layoffs using AI tools daily. What date was this published? Yeah, February 19th. So in Wired, for example. So there are just tons and tons and tons of layoffs. Yeah, I think that's going to come back to bite people because maybe they'll hire some photographers. I don't know. So that said, with all the apathy here in Greater Vegas, I still really want to get the food truck stuff working in a modernity that's been on the back burner for decades. Literally, I was working on this when I had my house fire. So that was in 2013. We had an owners association in the Bay Area Mobile Food Vendors Association, which I helped to form because I don't own a food truck, with the intent of using the tools I was building as sort of the underpinnings of automation, some automation for booking and like an interface for booking. Because I would always tell people, you should own your connection to your customers, and the voice that's speaking to them should be a voice that speaks for you, right? Your owners association is supposed to look out for you. So it's a nonprofit. The dues were cheap, $10. Something, I think it was $10. The idea was not to make money. There's no food truck owner going, oh, I'm going to take 10% of all of your gigs. There was none of that. So then House Fire moved to Vegas. We formed the Nevada Mobile Vendors Association. So I had the same model in mind, and then the pandemic came along, and mobile vendors in general in Vegas, and the entire terrain is very caustic. People here are not collaborative. They don't understand co-opetition, right? Yeah, even though I'm competing with you for customers, we can still make the marketplace stronger by inviting more people to enjoy food trucks, right? That's how you end up not having to worry. But there's so much cutthroat, so much people they'll call and say like, hey, you hired this other food truck, but they have roaches in their food. Like so much cutthroat BS. It's ridiculous. So that kind of flopped for the pandemic because I'm like, I'm not even getting involved in you guys violating all, whatever. Who cares? But I do have the FTYP platform. I got rid of I had 5 domains, but I'm like, I'm just going to stick with the one. It's a short domain, ftyp.co. We can integrate some Mastodon in there, so we don't have to do Twitter. We could even do Pixel Pub as a sort of an Instagram-ish thing if people want to share foodie pics, or there's a lot of things we could do. So, but the FTYP platform still for booking and whatnot. So that's still on my to-do list. I was just looking for a food truck that was big in Vegas, King Sausage. I know the owner. I knew a lot of the owners. He's apparently just disappeared. I think when people start posting on their business Instagram account pictures of family and outings and going to baseball games, you're like, all you're telling people is you're not in business anymore. So I'm assuming that's what's happened. But anyway, but where do you go? Like, where is the place to go if he doesn't have a web page or a site domain? There's all kinds of different websites. City Flavors, for example. What is this? Is this a booking site where they scrape? Okay, we got to list our food trucks. We got a bunch of food trucks. Do you want to rent a food truck? Which is, I think, their messaging. Rent a food truck to be at your event. So you're basically taking your 10% fig for booking. So in my mind, from its inception and based on my interactions with business owners and whatnot, FTYP, it used to be Food Truck YP, Food Truck YPlexus. Then there was Fair Truck, Food Truck, Fair Truck, Food Tent, Fair Tent. So Fair Truck would be mobile vendors selling clothing or whatever, right? A Fair Tent, usually farmers markets. Food tents. Okay. They all do FTYP. So I had ftyp.co, and at the end I'm like, I'm just going to keep this one. There's no good outcome from having so many domains. So ftyp.co, it's short, easy to type. And I always tell people, I don't really care if you come to my website. I want you to go to food trucks or go patronize the people. So I'm not here to get in the way. But the take home, I think it's still a totally valid experiment to run, and it fits into everything I'm doing. So I really want to focus on that. So when I look at Smarter Smart City Challenge being so difficult to get anyone interested in, I'm like, I don't want to spend any time. So I was going to try to have a sign up page. There's the Challenger platform, which is about people signing up for hackathons and challenges and whatnot. So people know who they are. So you can recognize and celebrate this innovation happening in our Global Innovation Hub. Instead, I get nothing but apathy because Vegas, first of all, is an extraction economy. All of Nevada is. Mining, tourism, gambling, gaming, right? There's no cultivation here. There's very little in the way of agriculture because of the water situation and because it's just mining. Mining was it. So there's not a lot of agriculture. In the middle of the state, the rural areas, there might be. But for the most part, like wasn't the cattle, it was Bundy, right? Not to be confused with Al Bundy. The government land, grazing and all that stuff. Was that in Nevada a little bit? Can't remember. But for the most part, we do not have an agriculture economy at all. And we don't have a lot of water. So it's mining and it's tourism and it's that kind of stuff. And they're just not good at developing and innovating at scale. Not to say there's no innovation. You can come to Vegas, you can start a startup and everything. That's totally fine. But people here do not get it. And I always tell people, dude, I was in the real Silicon Valley. We don't have that here. We don't have the underpinnings. Nobody knows this. Silicon Valley got started with the gold rush in 1849. What? There was no computers back then. No, but there were people that were interested in technology and learning things and being innovative, the innovation culture. Got its start in the late 1800s. Leland Stanford started Stanford University. It was named after his son, who died at age 15, I believe it was. So it's not named after himself, it's named after his son. But Leland Stanford took his picks and shovel money that he was making from supplying gold rush miners and said, I'm going to build a university. So Stanford University, which is today a venture capital company with a university attached to it, as the joke goes. But Stanford, then in 1944, when Frank Terman returned from radar development for the war effort, he becomes the dean of engineering and the provost, and he tells Hewlett and Packard to please do continue with your, form your company and do your thing, which famously Hewlett Packard, right, tells, what's his name? Shockley, who just got the physics Nobel Prize for physics when he was at Bell Labs on the East Coast for transistor technologies that he developed. Move back to the Bay Area. Your mom lives here. You can be in Menlo Park and the weather's nicer. And so Shockley moves there. He forms Shockley Semiconductor, I think it was. He hires all of the people who will eventually be the traitorous eight because they hate him. He's a jerk. They go to Fairchild, and then Fairchild has this little group of people who then form Intel and AMD and other companies. So the traitorous eight leave Shockley, and then Robert Noyce, Andy Grove, these characters. So all this stuff is a chain of events over a very long timeline. Nobody just went, oh, let's have Silicon Valley. What are you doing tomorrow? So there's a belief here in Vegas, like, oh, we got to diversify the economy. Let's be the next Silicon Valley. Really? Yeah, why not? We have CES. So there's a lot of misconceptions and silliness, which can really be frustrating. So the Smarter Smart City Challenge is sort of an opportunity to put up or shut up, as far as I'm concerned. At the same time, our media outlets here are garbage. So the In Las Vegas platform is in the offing, and FTYP will fit into that. So that, that's one of the things I am totally stoked about, if I could actually focus on just doing that. But the Smarter Smart City Challenge will be a proof of concept, as in, we don't have this. People don't understand how to do innovation here. Not for the most part. So be aware if you're moving to the Vegas area thinking you're going to start a company or whatever. And even the people, the moneyed, the wealthy landed aristocracy, the Ben Horowitz and the, what's his name? Teddy Liao. Teddy moved from San Francisco to Vegas. He has the Vegas Tech Summit at his home, charges $1,000 to hang out at his home. And he invites all of his friends. So they all come to his house and spend 2 days or whatever talking about, all the opportunity in Vegas for the tech sector. And then they leave because they don't actually live here. So and his company, he moved from San Francisco after his house got broken into. Oh, too much crime. I'm moving to Vegas. They're like, I got some bad news for you. But so he lives in Vegas, but his company is completely remote. So he is a one-person company here in Vegas with all of his other employees or contractors or whatever it is in other places. So he doesn't really mean move here. He means conduct business here such that you can extract value. Why? Because we have an extraction economy. So that kind of stuff is just silly to me, which is why I want to extract my own silver from this ridiculousness, or lithium, either way. Is there anything else? I don't know. It's 9:37. I've been talking for a while. You can hear my voice is already decaying. All right, I paused to get a little water, but still, yeah, it's whatever's in the air. I believe the pollen count was pretty high through the week. Not ideal for me, apparently. I need to write a summary, create some cover art, which I always use AI for, by the way. I don't make any bones about that. I don't want AI writing code for me, but if I'm going to have it make a cover, I'm not making fine art. I'm not creating paid works. I'm not trying to impress anyone that I am an artist. It's literally a 1400 by 1400 pixel cover art image. I need some imagery to go into the cover art image. I composite it with text and other elements, and I publish it with my audio program. But this is me speaking. I don't really... the AI slop that's taking over YouTube and whatnot, it's ridiculous. Hey, we can just publish 4,000 podcasts a day. Please don't. So this is just me. I do use AI for the cover art, but otherwise I'm not a fan. AI is weird. I'm sure we'll talk about this more into the future because everyone is. But that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Thank you for listening, as always. And that's it. That's all I got to say. Take care.